Okay, it's time for another episode of the Hammer Zone. With us today is Hammertime Pachoco, and of course your cameraman and host is Pete, as usual. So we're sitting here in Blue Boy's restaurant, which is just open. We've just had lunch. What did you have?
I had the poutine with the hot hamburger.
Yeah, how was that?
That was excellent. It's filling, and I'm good for another 6 hours.
Yeah, I had the matzo burger. I liked it. I guess it's the, I guess my Italian trumped my Jewish blood tonight, in that, or this afternoon, in that I like the good mozzarella on beef, but of course that's not kosher, mixing dairy and meat. But anyways,
that's all right. We'll live.
Yeah, we'll live. So, anyways, we had I wouldn't say an argument, but a discussion, and it was, as usual, it was pretty vocal over whether we're going to have an early election or a late election federally, given the minority situation. I came down, I think we're going to have a late election, but you came down for an early election. How soon do you think we're going to have this?
I think right after the Quebec election, because today Harper's held a press conference with Charest, i.e. the environment. If I heard correctly today in News World, he's going to dish out $200 million for environmental projects and stuff like that. And plus the ads on TV. To me that indicates, I think he wants to pull the same thing Paul Martin pulled on him when he just got elected. So I think Harper's thinking what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's I think that's what his thinking is. So if he can pull the plug, he'll do that on all the three opposition parties.
Yeah, I'm not going to dispute you on that, but do you think the opposition parties will let him pull the plug? And hold on a sec, let me explain my reasoning for a later election.
All right.
We're in a minority situation.
Yeah.
Harper can't act alone. We know that the NDP federally, provincially is another matter. Hampton seems to be pulling the provincial NDP up according to latest polls.
Yes.
But federally, Jack Layton's in a lot of trouble. His vote is dissipating both to the Liberals and to the Green Party. Elizabeth May's doing well. So it doesn't seem to be in Jack's benefit. The Bloc Québécois is down, so they seem to want to get their fortunes in order. And even the Liberals, I mean, the Liberals are carrying a lot of debt. So are the three opposition parties going to allow Harper to pull the plug?
Oh, they got the seats, so they have control of election or not. And I disagree with your characterization that Layton's in trouble. I think it's the media that's trying to spin it that way and say, oh, Jack's in trouble because the Liberal this, the Liberal that. But meanwhile, the Liberals created their own mess. They had three majority governments. Then the Liberals used that line, oh, because of the NDP, where Harper said, no, it was the people that voted the Liberals out. And the Liberals like to spin that because they think they own being in government, but it's the people, it's the will of the people, and the will of the people threw them out, not the NDP. Because the Liberals use that line every time they're doing interviews. Oh, because Jack Layton, we got Harper. No, it was the people. And by the Liberals spinning that, that's insulting voters. And voters, you know what? I give credence to voters, and they know what they do when they go to the ballot box.
Sure.
They're a Liberal yapping away and trying to spin something that's not real.
But two things. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to disagree, but still, the Liberals, they lost, but they had one of the largest opposition blocks that we've seen. I mean, 100 seats.
Trained seals. And all they do is talk a good line when they're in opposition.
So they're
when
still...
Let me finish. When they govern like Tories. And you know, when a judge makes a decision, he looks at precedents, look at their precedent. Three majority governments, and they govern...
but they still have
they govern more right than President Manning ever wished for. So that tells the voting public that Liberals talk a good line when they're in opposition, and they're all about power. They don't care about principle. But when they govern, and people know that Liberals are conservative. So when you got two conservative parties, the real choice is the NDP. And people are starting to recognize that, and that's what happened in New York Southwest.
Yeah, but that's a provincial matter. I mean, federally...
the same principle. They're fighting for the working class. They're fighting for economic prosperity and stuff like that. And meanwhile, we've had 13 years provincially of right-wing governments between McHarris and Harris.
But I mean, we're talking federally here.
That's true. And federally, no different. We have blue light. So people are starting to come to the conclusion, because they've seen the experiences. The Liberals govern like Conservatives. So we got Dion, a Conservative. He was in the cabinet. Didn't do nothing with the environment. It went up over 30% the greenhouse. Now he has a nerve with a straight face saying, "Oh, what have you done in 1 year? You had 13 years." So what basically he's saying is the Conservatives are not on the job on the environment. The Liberals weren't on the job on the environment. So the conclusion is, let's have a real progressive party, which is the NDP.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to say is, if we look at the numbers, I mean, you can say the Liberals govern like Conservatives and vice versa, and let's assume that's true, just for the sake of the argument.
No, it is true, not assume.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll just go along for the sake of the argument. Liberals have what? They have about 100 seats, and I know I'm not exactly, and the Tories got about 130 seats.
125, I believe.
Yeah, 125. That's 225 seats. That's over 2/3 of the seats in the House of Commons. 2/3 of the seats are Liberals or Conservatives. That doesn't bode well.
Yeah, but this is,
and now you add another 50 seats for the Bloc Québécois. I mean, there's very little. That's slim pickings for the NDP.
No, because they've never governed, but people are experiencing the right-wing policy of the corporate agenda, and people are starting to come around and saying, you know what, we gave these guys an opportunity to govern, and they've been whacking us ever since. So people are saying, you know what, hey, the NDP never held power, but we know their record provincially. They're sound. They brought what the programs we have today is because of the NDP, and they have a strong history and political record. So let's put them in power.
Okay.
And you know what? If they don't do what they say and they govern like everybody else, hey, 4 years from then they can kick them out. But for
hold on a sec.
No, let me finish. For people to blame the NDP, they never governed federally, so they don't have no track record. Let them govern, and they did a good job in the last parliament because they brought in the first NDP budget that was for people. So there's evidence that they can govern. They have a strong track record provincially, where we have governments of Tommy C. Douglas, and where they govern in the black and also done things for people. So they'll do that federally also. But they need the opportunity, and then when the people decide that they will give the NDP an opportunity, they'll think twice before they vote Liberal Conservative again.
One more question. All the recent federal polls put the NDP in a statistical tie with the Green Party. So how can you say that people are turning to the NDP and not to the Greens?
The last poll, the recent poll from February 2nd to the NDP were at 17, the Green were at 7. So they're going back to the original 5% kind of thing. And the poll that counts is every election because they count. 35-day campaign, people focus, they hear the platforms of all the three leaders, and people are starting to understand the corporate agenda in the last 13 years or since Brian Mulroney, and people are starting to come around. They're starting to understand that these two federal parties are for the corporate agenda, not for the working people. So they're for Bay Street, and Main Street, people want a party that will be for Main Street, and that is the NDP.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.